Good day everyone, I am Jo Marie Ases Aranya from BIT 4A FSM. So for today's topic, we have the materials management. Introduction. All business that has a manufacturing operation typically manages inbound and outbound of all the physical assets of the organization, as well as the services of a business offers. These goods and services are the wealth of the business. The wealth is measured by the amount of goods and services produced by the business and also based on the country where the business is located at. Some countries are rich with resources such as mineral deposit, farmlands, forests, and etc. These are only potentially these these are only potential sources These are only potential sources of wealth of the country which will give benefits to the business to their assets, especially also if the country is labor abundant. So what is material management? It is the planning, directing, controlling, and coordinating those activities which are concerned with materials and inventory requirement from the point of their inception to their introduction into the manufacturing process. It is also an important function of an organization covering various aspects of input process. It deals with raw materials, procurement of machines and other equipments necessary for the production process and spare part of the maintenance of the plant but in a production process. Material management can be considered as preliminary to transformation process. Material cost is probably the most important element of cost. In the case of certain industries like cement, sugar, chemicals, iron and steel, and etc., the materials cost form a very significant portion of the overall cost of production. So these are the objectives of material management. Material selection. First, we have material selection. Correct specification of materials and component is determined and also the material requirement in agreement with sales program are assessed. Second, we have low operating cost. It should endeavor to keep the operating cost low and increase the profits without making any concessions in quality. Third, we have safety of materials. With a thorough management of materials, inbound, outbound, and on-stock products will always be safe and secured to theft, damages, and expiration. Fourth, we have identification. With the materials management, confusion of orders and procurement will be lessened. So, classification of materials. The term materials is referred to all commodities which are consumed in production process. The material which can be consumed in the production process can be basically classified as first, direct materials, and second, indirect materials. Material is generally called raw material. Inventory is a name collectively given to a raw material, work in process, and finished goods. Even though materials and inventory are used as synonyms, material usually means raw materials and inventory means raw materials along with the work in process plus finished goods. So we have here the example. Raw materials into work in process into finished goods. Raw materials is first subjected to a manufacturing process before it becomes finished goods. The raw materials is also present with work in process and finished goods. It is a continuous process. Inventory classification includes resources that have future economic value. It indicates that it may be available in different form depending upon the production cycle stage it is in. Classification of inventory is done on this basis, and thus the different classification of inventory are as follows. So first, raw materials. are input goods intended for combination and or conversion through the manufacturing process into semi-finished or finished goods. They change their form and become parts of the finished product. Second, components and parts. Just as raw materials are converted to finished goods in manufacturing operation, components and parts are assembled in finished goods in an assembly operation. Third, we have maintenance, repair, and operating inventories, or MRO. These include parts, supplies, and material used in or consumed by routine maintenance and repair or operating equipment or in support of operation. Next, work in process goods. These include goods in process of manufacturing and only partially completed. Next, finished goods. This represents the completed conversion of raw material into the final product. There are goods ready for sale and shipment. Next, we have resale goods. These are goods acquired for resale. Such goods may be purchased by a wholesaler for resale to the distributor, or by distributor for resale to consumer, and etc. Next, we have capital goods. These are items such as equipment that are not used or consumed during a single operation period, but have extended useful lives and must be utilized over multiple operating periods. Tax laws requires that such an item be capitalized, and a predetermined percentage of its cost recognized as an expense each operating period over a predetermined time frame according to the equipment classes. Next, we have construction materials. These are raw materials and components for construction project such as building, bridge, and etc. Next, we have hard goods or soft goods. Hard goods and soft goods will vary depending on the industry involved. For example, in data processing, hard goods include apparatus such as computer and terminals, while soft goods include software, data, storage media, and the like. Next, we have fuel and lubricants. Fuels and lubricants are used for the oiling process or the equipment used in process, which again varies with the type of industry. Next, we have stationery goods. It includes writing materials like paper, pen, ink, and etc., which are used by the people involved in the process. Next, we have primary packing material. Packing material like plastic, paper, etc. are used to pack the finished goods for sale. And next, we have the scopes of material management. The scope of material management includes the following aspects. First, material planning. Second, standardization. Third, procurement and purchasing. Fourth, quality control. Fifth, packaging. Sixth, storage. And lastly, we have distribution. For the material planning is derived from overall organizational planning, and it is always a subplan of the broad organization plan. What is thus is forecast and initiate the procurement of materials. The factors affecting materials planning are: first, macro factor. Global factors such as price trends, business cycles, government's import and export policies, and etc. are also called macro factors. Credit policy of the government is a critical factor, as bank follows these guidelines only while extending financial support to a business entity. Second, we have micro factors. These are essentially the factors existing within the organization, such as corporate policy on inventory holding, production plan, investment, and etc. For organization, factor such as lead time of procurement, acceptable inventory levels, working capital, seasonality, delegation of power are micro factors. Next we have is standardization. Standardization means formulation, publication, and implementation of guidelines, rules, and a specification for common and repeated use, aim at achieving optimum degree of order or uniformity in a given context, discipline, or field. Publication means communication of a message, statement, or text through any means such as audio, video, print, electronically as an ebook or on the web. Specification means exact statement of the particular needs to be satisfied or essential characteristic that a customer requires in goods, material, method, process, service, system, or work in which a vendor must deliver. Specifications are written usually in a manner that enables both parties to measure the degree of conformality. So, specifications are divided generally into two main categories. One, performance specification, and two, technical specification. For performance specification, conform to no customers requirements such as keeping a room's temperature within a specific range. So for the technical specification, this express the level of performance of the goods, service, or any process of the business. Procurement or purchasing. Procurement means acquisition. It includes the complete process of obtaining goods and services from a preparation and processing of a requisition to receipt and approval of the invoice for payment. It is also called sourcing, while purchasing is the actual buying of goods of the seller and the buyer. So next we have quality control. Quality control comprises activities employed in detection and measured of the variability in a characteristic of output attributable to the production system and includes corrective responses. In quality control, the role of inspection is verified by a validate that variance data. It also involves critical appraisal involving examination, measurement, testing, gauging, and comparison of materials or items. An expectation determines if the material item is in proper control and condition, and if it conforms to the applicable of specified requirements. Next, we have the packaging. Packaging includes processes such as cleaning, drying, and preserving materials such as glass, metal, paper or paperboard, plastic employed to contain, handle, protect, and transport an article. The role of packaging expanding and may include functions such as attract attention, assist in promotion, provides machine identification barcodes, impart essential or additional information, and helps in utilization. Packaging will also be discussed on this module on the later part. Later in this module, some packaging processes will be discussed. Next, we have the storage. Storage means non-transitory, semi-permanent containment, holding or placement of goods or materials, usually within the intention of retrieving them at a later time. It does not include the interim accumulation of a limited amount during processing, maintenance, or repair. So next, distribution. Distribution means movement of a good and services from a source through the distribution channel, right up the final consumer or user. So next we have the material handling. What is material handling? It is the efficient short-distance movement of a goods that usually take place within the confines of a building such as plant or warehouse or between a building and a transportation agency. So these are the types of material handling. Number one, we have manual handling. Refers to the use of workers' hand to move individual container by lifting, lowering, filling, emptying, or carrying them. To properly lift any items, a worker should observe the following. So first, we have plan, you lift. Second, position the feet. Third, adopt a good posture. Fourth, get a firm grip on the item and keep it close to you. Fifth, lift the load up by using only your leg. Last, put down and adjust. Next, material handling equipment. Material handling equipment, or MHE, is used for the movement, storage, protection, consumption, and disposal of material within a facility or at a site to properly utilize the performance and assets of the company. There are things to consider first in purchasing such physical facilities, especially in the material handling and storage equipment. The factors below are the things to consider in selecting a machine and other physical facilities for the company. So 1, we have simple if operation. 2, flexibility. 3, durability. 4, portability. 5, benefit. 6, service. 7, operating cost. 8, style. 9, supplier. And lastly, we have cost. So next, we have the material handling equipment. Material handling equipment is classified into four. These are the transport equipment, positioning equipment, unit load formation equipment, storage equipment, and the identification and control equipment. Transport equipment. This equipment is used to move material from one location to another location. Conveyor. An equipment used to move material over a fixed path between a specific point. Conveyor can move material within the facility and also for loading of goods to its transportation docks. So this is the sample of a conveyor. Next is cranes. Equipment used to move material over variable paths within a restricted area. It is mainly used for lifting heavy things and transporting them to other places. The device uses one or more simple machines to create mechanical advantage and thus move loads beyond the normal capability of a human. Cranes are commonly employed in the transport industry for loading and unloading of freight. In the construction industry for the movement of materials, and in the manufacturing industry for the assembling of heavy equipment. So, next we have the industrial trucks, used to move materials over variables horizontal, path without restriction on the area covered. Most industrial trucks permit mechanized pickup and deposit of the loads, eliminating manual works in lifting as well as transporting. Depending on their means of locomotion, industrial trucks may be classified as hand trucks or power trucks. So these are the types of forklifts. 1, we have the reach truck. Reach truck are usually electric-powered industrial trucks. It is used for tall racks for loading and unloading pallets. Reach trucks are usually placed on strategic locations. And reach trucks capable of capacity over 2,500 pounds to 5,500 pounds. So 2, we have the 3-wheel forklift. Mainly used indoors, warehouse, or smooth surfaces. Used for maneuverability and space. Electric-powered, capability to 3,000 pounds to 5,000 pounds. So 4, we have the wheel forklift. Four-wheel forklifts can be electric powered and gasoline, more stable than three-wheel forklift, usually used on outdoors. So the capacity is 3,000 pounds to 80,000 pounds. So pallets. It's a flat transport structure that supports goods in a stable fashion while being lifted by a forklift. Pallets have entry number. Some pallets have two-way, and the most common is four-way pallets. That has four entry points for the forklift for lifting purposes. So this is the pallet boxes. Reusable container used to utilize and protect loose item for fork or platform truck handling. So next we have the storage equipment. It's used for holding or buffering materials over a period of time. It represents a trade-off between minimizing handling costs by making material easily accessible and maximizing the utilization of space. One of the best example of storage equipment is racking system on the racks. A rack is a frame or shelf, usually with bars or hooks. It is used for holding the goods or products to be stored. So these are the four types of racking system. Number 1, we have drive-through rack. Second, we have drive-in rack. Third, we have flow-through rack. And fourth, pushback rack. Drive-through rack is designed for first in, first out, or FIFO type of inventory management. This racking system is used for products that are fast-moving and labeled with mass productions. Forklifts have the opportunity to rack items on one side while stimulously being retrieved from the other side. Below is an example of drive-through racking system. So next we have the drive-in rack. It's designed for last in, first out, or LIFO type of inventory. Loads and retrieve from the same side, creating last in, first out inventory retrieval organization. Forklifts have the opportunity to drive inside the racking system. Through the service is only one side. Below is an example of drive-in racking system. So again, I am Jo Marie Asis Aranya. Thank you for listening.